we have to face the possibility that unless we do something soon, we're near the end.
This is the end of human history, the end of human-dominated history. History will continue with somebody else in control. In 5 years, there'll be a technology that can make decisions independently and that can create new ideas independently. Maybe they'll be nice. Maybe they'll solve cancer and climate change, but we are not sure. I'm tending to think of it more in terms of really an alien invasion, an alien fleet of spaceships coming from planet Zircon or whatever with highly intelligent beings. This is what we are facing, except that the aliens are not coming in spaceships from planet Zircon, they're coming from the laboratory. If the humans are divided among themselves and are in an arms race, then it becomes almost impossible to contain this alien intelligence.
He's talking about aliens. This is, with alien disclosure, alien.gov, aliens with an s.gov. Trump just said today that, in fact, let me show you. President Trump just announced UFO disclosure in the Oval Office with 4 NASA astronauts standing behind him. Not a space agency, astronauts, NOTS. You guys know that whole thing is a psyop. It's always been a psyop. And now polls show the majority of Americans do not believe the moon landing was real. They believe it was fake. So who's got the tinfoil on now?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have 2 questions for you. First, on the topic of space, do you have an update on the UFO files and when we're going to be seeing those?
Well, I think we're going to be releasing as much as we can in the near future. For some reason, and I guess it's just a reason that's been in the minds of people for a long time, and that is they want to find out about the UFOs and anything having to do with UFO or related material. And we're going to be releasing a lot of things that we have. And I think some of it's going to be very interesting.
And of course, these questions are planted. Of course. This is why we had the disclosure documentary, which was run through the CIA. There were over 30 government officials in there, including Marco Rubio. And then we have the Age of Disclosure movie, same CIA ties to that. I did a whole live stream about that a couple months ago. A couple of them. This is what's going on. If you think AI is just, technology, no. They have said that they are summoning the demons with AI, a demon god. This is what Elon Musk and they all say. There is a religion, I have shown you, led by Peter Thiel, the Antichrist in AI. They believe that this is some ancient Sumerian demon, whatever. That's what they say. They know it's demonic. They know aliens are demonic. Like, they are saying these things out loud. And they're all bringing us to a point when it comes to when we talk about AI and the data centers. People are wondering, why do we need all these data centers? Why do we need all this AI? Well, because it's part of the beast system. They're telling us over and over and over, it is a control mechanism. And this is part of why they say you will own nothing and be happy by 2030. People put different dates, but 2030 is the date. That's the agenda. The WEF agenda, which we are very much a part of. And so part of that as well is that, with you being happy, well, work will be optional because AI is going to take all the jobs. And that is steadily happening. Have you seen the layoff numbers? Unemployment? Absolutely no job growth? Like, we are headed towards not only just a global energy lockdown, famines. I told you 70% of farmers don't have the fertilizer they need for their crops this year. We're headed towards all of these different things. But at the same time, you got to remember this whole alien disclosure, this whole AI. But they said that work will be optional and there'll be universal basic income. But then they changed it to it's universal high income. High compared to who? If everyone's just getting this income, what does that mean? Doesn't that mean it's all basic? Do you get what I'm saying? High compared to who? It makes no sense. But they have said AI is taking all of our jobs. Now, remember, keep in mind, you may wonder, how could they support everyone? Well, they want mass depopulation, like under 1 billion people. This is why they want the famines and the wars and hitting energy infrastructure. This was always supposed to be. The Bible said these things would happen. The world was not supposed to get better. It was supposed to get worse. How do you get everyone so desperate for the Antichrist, willing to worship him and take the mark during the tribulation, unless the world is just that bad? You get what I'm saying? Like, all the pieces are now on the board. It is up to us to have the eyes to see and to not be deceived.
Isn't it ironic that they want to do a universal income, a standard universal income, now that the knowledge workers are losing their jobs? But when the factory workers were losing their jobs, those same people were massively against these kinds of things. So, I mean, yes.
What happens to purpose?
It's ironic.
And meaning, if we're being... Because for anybody that doesn't know what universal basic income is, the idea is the government, the state, whatever, would pay you a certain amount of money every single
minimum
month.
salary.
So $2,000, $3,000, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Because they don't think many of us are going to have... There's not going to be enough jobs to go around. And I wonder what happens to purpose and meaning and pursuit and challenge and all these things in a world where we're just being handed money.
So we're not being given wealth. There's a difference. We're being given survival money, right? And so, we have to be very careful that says, everybody who's on welfare is lazy. That's not true, So we have to be very careful that just because we give somebody something doesn't mean that they cease to have ambition or purpose or drive. It's like somebody who makes a commission salary, works on commission, and they make just enough to pay their rent and buy food, and that's it. Like, that's a lack of ambition, The cases, at least the people I've heard talk about it, they make a compelling case for it, especially in a world where there is plenty of...
Yeah, there's plenty of wealth for the wealthy. They don't want a middle class. They want to go back to where there's lords and kings and then just the poor folk, the common folk. And they want to control us. This is part of... People think Neuralink is the mark of the beast. It's not that obvious. People think Trump is the Antichrist. It's not that obvious. It's all the craziness and things and people hating Trump and even his own base turning against him. Is that part of the overall plan to usher in the Antichrist? And people will want this savior to save them from all this chaos and save them from crazy Trump and evil Trump. Yeah, guys, you see, like, it's too on the nose when I see the mainstream media talking about Trump the Antichrist. Oh, obvious psyop. It's too... Really, Satan is the great deceiver, and that's what he's going to do. Same thing with Neuralink. Everyone's already against it. You're not putting a chip in my head. No, it's part of the control mechanism during the Antichrist rule, the beast system. So you have collective consciousness, meaning there's no dissent. There's none of that. Now they're trying to do it through censorship laws, debanking, social credit score, which is coming and will be tied into the digital ID system, which is why they need all these data centers. Your entire life will be there and can analyze. Now they have, even in Walmart and other stores, where the price tag is digital. And it literally, I've shown videos, people walk into the aisle, you can see the numbers change on all the items. How is that going to work? You go and pick up an item, you think it costs a certain thing, you go to check out, it's changed. But I don't think it's just for that. I think it's different people based on your social credit score, how much something will cost you. The Bible says in the last days, in the end times, that a day's wage, it will cost a day's wage for the wheat for a loaf of bread. So a loaf of bread will cost a day's wage. And that is why they're collapsing the system. That's why everything is chaotic. That's why they don't care about the midterms. They said there'll be no more elections. Maybe there'll be midterms. I don't believe there'll be another presidential election. They said Trump's going to get a third term. And I believe them. I believe them. We've got to stop taking things as jokes. I mean, I take it all as a joke because I told you where my rest and reassurance is. I'm out of politics and all that. None of that matters. and just to see it unfold. But getting into the data centers, popping up everywhere, people just don't even understand what they are. But they're draining the resources of communities around the country. People's utility bills are skyrocketing. And there's no need for any of it except, guys, unless these data centers are going to hold your entire life, unless they're preparing, again, for this control grid, this digital prison, the Great Reset, New World Order, the B system. And then also when it gets into the chip in your brain, the Neuralink, all of that. So they said they can implant false memories. They can remove memories. They can make you compliable. Is that even a word, guys? Sorry. I'm getting tongue-tied. But you get what I mean? Take a look at this.
Is a data center. And the thing to know about a data center is that there are over 5,400 of them in the United States right now. That's enough new ones under construction to power the entire UK. To get a sense of what I actually mean, look at your phone. Let's say you open up ChatGPT and you ask it a question. That question doesn't get answered on your phone. It leaves your phone, travels through a cell tower, hits a fiber optic cable, and lands in a building the size of a Walmart filled with servers. And those servers run really hot, like really, really, really hot. And to cool them down, most of these buildings do something really simple. They use water, a lot of water. One large data center drinks about 5 million gallons of water a day. That's enough water to supply a small town. And this is for one building, one company. A company like Google has hundreds of them. In fact, it's so big in 2023, they used around 6 billion gallons of water to cool their servers. Now, think about what runs through these buildings. Every Google search, every Netflix stream, every Zoom call, every Uber ride, all of that is happening inside a building somewhere, using water and electricity every single day, all day. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. These buildings aren't spread out evenly. If you look at a map, the US has more data centers than the next 14 countries combined. And most of these are actually just crammed in a small area in Northern Virginia. People are starting to call it Data Center Alley. It's so in demand there that around 99% of that area is full. What I mean by this is that a large part of the internet is running through Northern Virginia. And the total power that these buildings use globally is 415 terawatt hours per year. That is about 1.4% of all electricity on Earth. By 2030, American data centers alone will use more electricity than every steel mill, every aluminum smelter, every cement plant, and every chemical factory in the country. And a lot of these are getting shut down, or people in these communities are trying to shut them down. So let me know what you think in the comments. Should we keep building these? Should we pause on them? My opinion is we keep building them, because if we don't, China will.
If we don't, China will. That's what we've been hearing. That's what they say. If we don't do it, they're going to do it. But guys, all different parts of the government are coming under AI, the Genesis mission. And now I reported on this last year where, if you remember, Trump signed an executive order removing all restrictions off of AI. We're stripping the states of being able to implement any kind of laws. That it all comes under federal now. These data centers have federal protection. States can try to ban them, but guys, this can be reversed federally. Like it's going to happen. I don't care what little movement or little victory and all that. They may say, oh, they're going to stop it. Guys, there's nothing that can stop this. That's what they want you to believe. They just want to hold you off long enough. So everything can come down. This guy's just like, let's just keep building them. Let's just keep building them. That's what you'll hear these people say. So I want to play this one next. Now, this is Professor Jang. I think he does a great job of breaking down these data centers and kind of seeing the bigger picture of what is happening. And then I want to wrap this up spiritually and what this all mean and the B system.
Why is America building all these data centers around the world? In fact, the federal government under Trump has a plan called Operation Stargate, where they will build $500 billion, okay? They will invest $500 billion in building data centers around the United States. Well, you would want to build data centers if you want to create a AI surveillance state, right? Where everyone has digital ID, digital currency, and where everyone can be monitored to avoid people from rebelling against Trump. Okay, and that is the idea. Okay, and you listen to this and you think, oh my God, America is doomed, or Donald Trump's going to become king for the rest of his life. There's nothing we can do. Well, the problem is this. The problem is that this idea of imperial conquest is actually not a new idea, guys, okay? It really isn't. Empires have been doing this for a long, long time. It has not worked out well, okay? So the goal, again, to summarize, is to create a situation where you have Greater North America, or what they call the Technate. Okay? And this becomes a fortress. You have infinite resources, infinite manpower, and you can sell weapons, resources, and financing to the rest of the world. And you want to create as much conflict in the world as possible, right? So here it'll be between China and Japan. Here it'll be between Iran, Israel, and the GCC, okay? Here it'll be between Europe and Russia. Basically, you want a world forever at war so that you can control the world. And all America has to do is control key choke points, okay? Key strategic choke points, like the Strait of Malacca, Hormuz, Gibraltar, Panama. Why? Because once you control the choke point, you can control which nations get what resources. If a nation is becoming too strong, you give them less resources. If a nation is too weak, you give them more resources. And as a result, you can always maintain the balance of power in each region, right? So it sounds like a great plan, but it's not going to work out. Why? Well, because of something called nationalism. Okay? Because when you do this, when you are an empire and you impose your will on other nations, these nations are not happy about it. Right? So imagine Japan, South Korea, Europe. Their people know that they're being used, right? So eventually they'll be like, screw this. We want to be independent. We want peace. So they will eventually rise up against the empire. And the way they will do this is they will work together to destroy America, or basically to remove America from the world. You can't actually attack America.
Listen up. No time in history have we ever been this close to the beast system being implemented. And I'm going to tell you why I say that. But first, let me tell you what the Bible says about the beast system. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. So we know it's going to be a system of control, and a system has different parts. First one I want to talk about is the data centers, which is the nervous system. Right now in the U.S., we have 4,000 to over 5,400 data centers already in the United States, with 3,000 more expected or under construction right now. In a biblical context, the beast system is characterized by three main pillars that would logically require massive computational power. Number one, universal surveillance. 2, economic control. And 3, centralized enforcement. Let's talk about universal surveillance. Palantir, that has embedded itself into every sector of our government, from the military to USDA to FAA, the IRS, everything. It's also about to control our skies with AI. Also, Palantir Inc.'s deal with USDA to manage farmland and control America's agriculture data, taking over the nation's food supply, because they have to be able to control the food as well. Remember, you won't be able to buy or sell. That includes food, which brings us to the second pillar, economic control. The Bible says that those who are here will not be able to buy or sell, which will be implemented by a worldwide cashless, permission-based economy, which is going to require a 100% uptime digital ledger. It's going to take a lot of data. The next pillar is centralized enforcement. Managing a worldwide population is going to take a lot of data and use algorithms to flag dissent or noncompliance. With this system, it's going to have several key components that are going to be housed in data centers. First is cloud computing, which is the power over all the nations and tribes. Artificial intelligence, which is the image of the beast. And biometric databases, which will be used for the mark in the forehead or the right hand. It will literally be like an electronic cage. And this physical mark is only going to be half the battle because you're going to have a digital twin as well. A digital twin is a virtual representation of every living person stored on a server. And the only way that Satan can pull this off is with data centers. To control every single person on Earth, that is a lot of data. And to do it digitally, you have to have data centers. And all of us know by now what the implications of these data centers are doing to our world. But the powers that be do not care because this has to happen. Look, Google just approved Pentagon to use AI tools in classified settings. You see, data centers represent the transition from local power to omnipresent power. The beast system isn't just a political regime, but a technocratic one, where the algorithm becomes the law and the data center becomes the temple of that administration. And even if you don't want to believe this is coming, it is. You cannot stop prophecy. You cannot tell me the Bible is not real when we are literally seeing what was written thousands of years ago happening right now. The only thing that is going to save you from this is believing in Jesus Christ, believing that Jesus died, was buried, and rose again for the remission of your sins. Don't wait until it's too late, and don't ignore the signs.
Normal isn't coming back, but Jesus is. I've told you, this is what we've been talking about, and every day you can see the writing on the wall. Now, one of the ways you can help support the work I have going on over here, waking people up, seeing beyond the layers, tying things to biblical prophecy, is by going over to realmelanieking.com. So this is my merch shop, and I have many, many, many different items and conspiracy and Christian collection. You guys have been so great supporting me. Now, another way that you can support is by donating to the ministry directly on my website or by the links below. I have multiple ways you can do that. But yeah, leave a comment. Let me know where you think this is all heading. And can you see it more clearly than you did before? Are you seeing the writing on the wall? Anyway, I will see you guys on the next one.